Three women have filed lawsuits alleging grooming and sexual misconduct by a former high school coach and teacher at two local schools. Dallas Till was employed at both Elmwood Park High School and Morton East High School in Cicero.
Joining us to talk more about these cases is attorney Mike Sorge with Kavanaugh Sorge Law Group. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So state law requires for school staff to immediately report anytime they believe that a student is being abused, but according to this lawsuit, that didn't happen, and it says that there was a, quote, code of silence. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Sure. So administrators and teachers have a non-delegable duty. They have to report any inkling of misconduct. And unfortunately, at both of these schools, that did not happen. And teachers and administrators should have taken action immediately to stop this from occurring.
Let's talk about the history of this. The first complaint against this particular educator happened back in 2002, Mike, but the allegations didn't become public until nearly 2 decades later. And, you know, we're talking about someone who worked for 2 different schools. Right. So potentially the second one that employed him didn't know anything about the allegations. How does something like this go on for so long?
Well, our client is a survivor, and she's very courageous, and she came forward, and she's looking forward to her day in court. This misconduct should not have happened in the first place, and administrators and teachers should have taken steps at both of these schools to make this a non-issue from the beginning.
And this can obviously be a very traumatic experience, especially when this happens to somebody so young at the time. So how is your client doing today?
Like I said, she's very courageous. She's had some very dark times in her life, and essentially her high school years were robbed from her. I mean, you're talking about preying on very young, vulnerable high school students. And again, by filing this lawsuit, she's looking forward to having her day in court.
Sadly, we were discussing this during the commercial break. I feel like nearly weekly we're seeing another case like this. And as a parent, it is frightening because, you know, we tell our daughter Olive, who's 3 years old, you know, if something happens at school, tell the teacher, make sure you report it. But it sounds like your client in this case did that and nothing happened, you're alleging. So what do you, looking back, taking a step back and looking at this case, what do you recommend parents talk to their children about now?
Well, I think it's important for parents to be very diligent and having that constant communication with their children, and also having that line of communication with the school, because when the parents aren't there, it's the teachers and the administrators that are the first line of protection for our children.
Mike Sorge, thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.